Okay, let's start. Let's unmute everybody and say good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Excellent. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Excellent. So today we're going to talk a little bit about two different rules, and we're going to try and wrap up the entire series today. Next week, I'm going to be traveling, but you know, I want to leave it open at the end of this session today and see what is required by all of you, because this is for you. This is what you guys want, what you need, and let's see where we end up today, and let's talk about what next week looks like. Okay, so we've been at this for 4 weeks. We've talked a lot about the laws. Actually, Simon, could you put everybody on mute, please? Thank you. I'll unmute myself. Thanks. So, you know, we've started off by talking about value, and value is what brings us here. We start talking about what the law of value is, which is your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. There's an interesting part in that story that you know, the book we read, and it basically says, you know, if you're in sales and you need a sale today, and how do you get that happening really quickly? Well, Bob basically says, give value really quickly. And if he says, well, I need a lot more sales and I need a lot more dollars, then he says, give a lot more value quickly and a lot more value to more people, so you get more compensation. Pretty simple analogy. It's hard to you know, put that into practice, but if you're living it every day, it kind of falls into play. Then we have the law of compensation. Your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. We start talking about the law of value, touch more people's lives, and you get the law of compensation. The law of influence, your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. If I was to put this into really simple terms, it's as simple as holding the door open for somebody in front of you or behind you. You know, that's just a simple term, but we start putting other people's interests first, especially in the sales process. If you start listening to them and thinking about what they need, as opposed to us going in with our agenda for what we need to accomplish for ourselves. You know, I think I used the word quota a couple of times in this conversation, where we said, "Hey, I have a quota to meet, and I need to sell you this." Whether you say it or not, but if that's your intention, it comes across that way. And you know, I keep on using this one. I keep on saying the only person who can get away with a quota is the police officer, where they have a quota to give out X amount of tickets on a monthly basis, and near the end of the month, they can do whatever they want to give those tickets away. But a salesperson can't go into any prospect, say that I have a quota to meet and I need you to buy this because it's a special deal and it's going to make my life easier. That doesn't happen. And today we're going to talk about the law of authenticity and the law of receptivity. Excuse my voice. I think there's allergies going on right now. So if I'm sounding a little groggy, I apologize. I'm going to start hydrating myself a bit too. So, you know, we've talked about the circle of the go-giver way. In most sales processes, you start off with prospecting, you know, going through that whole process. In the go-giver way, you start wherever you feel comfortable. You know, and you look at the bottom one there, it says be real. And be real is being authentic, being who you are. And if I look at the law of authenticity, it says the most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself. Now, just look within yourselves. Think about who you are as a person, what you're trying to accomplish, what you want to do. I always say that the law of authenticity and your gut check are one of the same. If your gut churns for any reason when you're not doing the right thing or you're not being authentic, you need to revisit where you're at and start following through that again. Now, Bob Burg has a couple of really good sayings here. I'm going to read them off to you. The truth is, authentic is not something you become. It's something you already are. The next one here is, no matter what you think you're selling, what you're really offering is yourself or is you. The most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself. I'm just going to step back here a bit. The truth is, authentic is not something you become, it's something you already are. If you're starting to pretend to be somebody else and be somebody else in the sales cycle, be somebody else as a friend, trying to impress somebody, it shows you're not yourself. Be in a situation where you can just be normal and relaxed and be who you are. Have a simple, plain conversation. That goes such a long way. And it's interesting. The people that are online right now, I know all of you, and you're all in that realm already. You're here because you are authentic. You want to learn. You want to start making a different impact with the people you already have. It's okay to learn. You just can't be somebody else. I learn a lot from Bob Burg, but I cannot be Bob Burg. I listen to his videos and audios all the time. To be part of the certified program, I have to do that. But every time I try and even think about being him, I fail. I have to really sit back and look at the way he speaks, learn, and then put my own spin to it. And that's what makes me successful, is to put my own authenticity into it, I guess. It says here, the critical skill in your business is your capacity to be authentic and to make a connection. If we are out there learning to meet people and being networkers, and we're trying to be somebody else, just your being changes, and what you're trying to do is impress somebody, and you're not actually being yourself, and that really shows, and that networking relationship fails right away. Just think back, and I invite you to reflect upon your best friends right now. Why are they your best friends? It's because you were able to be yourselves. Your partner, how are things with your partner on the good days? It's because you're with yourself, you're being yourselves. As we get into business and we start meeting people, the more we are ourselves and being authentic, the closer that relationship gets. I said earlier, authenticity should never be confused with not improving ourselves. While we want to adopt the wisdom of others, it's important not to adopt their personalities. I am not Bob Burg, and I never will say I am, but I learn a lot from him. And I'm very humbled to be in his presence and learn from somebody with that experience. I do need to be myself, though. I need to bring my own stories into this. I need to bring my own conversations into this, and just need to be myself while still improving to be a speaker and a coach. Now, here's I love this little slide here. Simon, are we going to send this off to everybody in the workshop?
Yes, we will, the worksheets.
Great.
For sure.
Awesome, thank you. Just think about, we talked a little bit about the hero and the heroine in a couple of sections ago. Your customer is the hero. You're just the guide to get them there. So if you look at who is the hero in your own field, who do you look up to? Who is the the person that you really strive to become in your own field, in business itself, as a writer, um, historian, an actor, a sports Olympian, and a cartoon character. It's funny, the cartoon character that comes to my mind always when I think about this is Roadrunner for me. And Simon, that's an interesting face you just made. But to me, the Roadrunner is always chasing something. It's always moving fast. It's always after something, and nobody else can catch him. That's to me is it's my hero, heroine level. Now, as a writer, it's definitely Bob Burg. In my own field, it's definitely Bob Burg as well. So I've got some really interesting people I put onto this list, and the quality of the writer, for Bob Burg, for example, I basically say he's a simple storyteller, and I guess that's why I relate to him really well. Is that when I speak, I try and share my experiences, share my stories, and that's what builds my authenticity, builds my relationships, builds my credibility with people. So I started looking at this and I started saying, okay, here's who my heroes are in all these different aspects of life. And here's the qualities for them. And this is why I seem to relate to them, because there's a part of them that I'm trying to strive or trying to improve on being like. But again, not duplicating and replicating. I'm still putting my own life into it. So we did that. So who do those qualities remind you of? If you think back and say, are you any of those people? Are you in part of any of those people? Do you strive to be that? So I invite you to look at that exercise. It'll open up some interesting conversations within yourselves, and I'd love to get some feedback on that as the weeks go by. Confidence and genuine enthusiasm are not missiles that work only when they are launched at others. They are lights that glow from within. This, I started looking at this and you start sitting back and thinking about what this actually says. You look at other people and you're not after what they're doing, but you're actually inspired by what the work that they've done and trying to bring that light into yourselves. This is getting a little too zen for me in the morning, Simon. I'm getting a little quiet here. This is not my personality at all. Do you agree? I think I need some caffeine here.
Yeah, go for it.
Did we all do a 8 a.m. yoga session this morning? I know I didn't.
It's 8 a.m. now.
Should we do an 8 a.m. yoga session? But I know I joke about this, but it is important that we start reflecting in where we're at in life and why we're inspired to be like others. But again, I really invite you not to take on their personalities and be them, but just strive to be them. Strive to be where they're at. Put your own personality into them. Sorry, I'm just going to close the door here. We've got some background noise happening. Sorry, I'm going to go here. What is the essence of your own personal brand? Now, what do you stand for? Are you friendly? Are you outgoing? Are you out there meeting different people? Do you inspire people? We'll send you a sheet that allows you to print this off and look at it. But look at who you are as a personal brand. Now, there was a slide in here that we took out, but it was more about what is your marketing brand? And we're going to talk a little bit about that a little bit further, but there's two different beings within yourselves. It's who you are inside that builds relationships, and then there's your actual marketing brand. and they both have to coincide. So if you're a fun, outgoing person and your brand is very stuffy and lawyer looking like, you're not being authentic. Your brand is not you. You've actually copied somebody else. Um, Actually, if I didn't make that joke about yoga a couple of minutes ago, that just wouldn't be me. Uh, I'm about having fun and just letting it, being loose and lightening up the mood. If I was taking things too seriously, then I'm not being authentic. It took me a little while to get through that slide, and I'm being authentic about that. It's a tough slide for me to go through, but I still do. It means a lot. I think there's a lot of insight into that one, but to me, it's still a very Zen-like uh, situation. So I lighten it up a bit. But this is where your internal personal brand and your outside marketing brand really have to coincide. And there's a really good couple of websites that we recommend you look at, and we'll send you a link on both of these. Brand Fascination and How to Fascinate. This basically works on how the rest of the world sees you, and this by Sally Hogshead. Really interesting worksheets in there. Simon, can you make a note that we should send one sheet or one slide that has all the links that we've been talking about, like Simon Sinek's Ask Why. Put it all into one so it makes it easier for everybody.
For sure.
Okay, thank you. In that website and those books, she talks a lot about the 7 languages of fascination. And excuse me. There's the innovation is the language of creativity. There's passion is the language of relationship. Power, language of coincidence. Oh, sorry, language of confidence. Prestige is the language of excellence. Trust, language of stability. Mystique, language of listening. And alert, language of details. If you start putting some of these fascinations in your if you start putting some of these languages part of you and looking at who you are, that it starts putting some internal branding for yourself into it. Just reading a bit of a note here. Yeah, so I've got a note here. Basically, says if I look at the innovation, it's surprise people by changing things up. For instance, frequently changing your profile photo. Simon, can you say I'm a bit of an innovator?
I can, but I actually want you to talk about the one you showed me with the red shoes last week. You don't have to say his name, but
So I've got a really, really interesting partner that I work with in Calgary. He's a LinkedIn guru. He's helped us with our LinkedIn profiles. And he's really marketed himself as a fun, outgoing person. Actually, Sam, if you can find that picture, I'd love to show it. I think it's going to be it'll show people what that means by innovation.
For sure.
If we look at this picture that we're going to show you, as well as what we're about ourselves, I am always out there looking at different ways of getting our word out. We're changing it up quite a bit. Now, did you find it, Simon?
I'm just on Facebook. Give me a moment.
Okay. And then if you start looking at the passion, if you start looking at what we do as far as our profiles and our posts go on social media, and it also shows what our passion and how we're building our relationships are. So all these 5 languages kind of play into each other, and they kind of bring your personal branding out. Now there's a really interesting book out there called 5 Languages of Love. And that's in your relationships. Take that and put these 5 languages of fascination into your life and your personal branding. There's so many similarities between relationships and work relationships. They kind of all tie in together. So this is an interesting way of looking at it. Simon, you ready? I can't. I
I
can't
have
hear
it on
you.
I have it on my desktop. Do you want me to
Okay.
just
Do you want to just go ahead
open
and
up
share your
my
desktop for a
screen share?
second? Yeah.
One
Yeah.
second.
I'll stop my share.
So this is one of them. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay. And then
Sort of. Sort of.
we'll have all the Zoom stuff going on. So
Yeah. So you look at. Sorry, can you unmute Aaron for example? I just want to hear from Aaron if you can see it. Aaron, are you able to see the picture?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, perfect. So good. I want to make sure everybody else can see it. So, so go back to the first one, Saima.
mm-hmm.
So you look at Ulner here, and if I was to show you a regular picture of Ulner, he's very conservative. It looks very conservative. He's a great presenter, but he has a lot of fun. But his branding, this is the kind of stuff he's doing. And the next one here, when I saw that, I was just floored. This is the CEO of YWCA in Calgary, and he put on red shoes just to raise some awareness. When I saw this and I'm looking at his picture, I'm going, this guy is out of control, but he's getting attention. He's being very innovative. He's actually showing people that this is what he's like. Now, Aaron, I'd love to see you in some yellow shoes in the next couple of days, and see some pictures of you out there. I think that's going to be really innovative.
I don't think they have them in my size.
Is that going to happen?
I don't think they have them in my size.
Everything is possible, sir. So let's go back to my screen here. I hope that kind of gives you an idea what authentic means as well. If I look at, and I know Ulner really well, and this is his personality. He is basically taking his personality and branding it out there. So it's perfect. I'm just going to need to share again, don't I?
Yes.
Share screen. Please confirm you guys can see. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So what ways can you weave through the essence of throughout your brand? Your brand identity is your colors, your graphic design, your logo, your website, your letterhead, your business cards, your note cards, your notepads, and your social media. And I really, sit back and think about who you are as a person and then the company you work for. Now, some of you work for some large corporations, so you can't really change that logo, but you can create your own brand around that personality. This is more about you than who you work for. The relationships you're building are authentic relationships for you, not the logo and the brand that you're working with. Those actually create a personality that you're with, but it's your branding that's going to make those relationships. So really look back and think about what these things are. Now, we're going to get into things like your sweet spot. What's your expertise? What's your passion? And what are your instincts? What are you striving for? And we start putting those things into play. And then, we start looking at why we feel energized in the mornings. Why do I feel drained? I look at there's actually a Kobe index. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of disc profiling and personality testing. The Kobe index, I did one a few months ago actually when I went to see Bob Burg in February or March, I guess it was, and they did the Kobe index on all of us. And it was just a regular test, 15-minute test that I did in the morning and got it out to Kathy, who's Bob's partner. And as soon as I sat down, they're doing the introductions, and she kind of goes to me, says, "Hey, Likky, it's I totally understand if you need to be walking around and doing stuff, and just be yourself." And I go, "Oh, that's cool. How did you know I kind of needed to do that?" And then she goes, "I'll get back to you in a few hours about that." I go, "Okay." So then we went to the first session and we talked a little bit about the Kobe index. And the Kobe index is basically your energy levels. It's not about your your traits. It's not about where your strengths and weaknesses are. It's about what your energy level is like. And I'm a creator. I'm a visionary. I like to be talking. So this 8 a.m. call, energized, totally loving it. I have no problems. I'm not a morning person, but I get up excited about this because this is the kind of stuff I like to do. Now, what I used to do before was, the dreaded 150 emails in your inbox and the spreadsheets and the invoicing and the billings and all that kind of stuff. So I used to get up in the morning and I used to do those things to get them out of the way, thinking that if I get those out of the way first, my day will be better. I'll be able to get the crap out and do the stuff I want to enjoy. But what would end up happening is, as I'm doing that, by 10:30, 11, I'm actually out there looking for coffee. I'm drained. My energy is just totally drained. So if I'm drained, I can't be doing what I like to do because I don't have the energy level for it. So I wouldn't be able to. We weren't successful at that point. As soon as I did that Kobe index and I realized, or actually Kobe realized, that my energy levels are really high in the external work that I do, like the marketing pieces and the creativity and the talking. And so now I've turned my day around to say, okay, the mornings are all about the good stuff, the stuff I love to do, the stuff I don't like to do, like the spreadsheets. I'm a pretty good Excel user. I'm I'd say I'm a pretty intermediate Excel user. It's not that I don't know how to do it, but when I start doing it, I just get drained. It's not my energy level. So I push all those things to near the end of the day at 3 o'clock or so, or 2 o'clock, so that the good stuff I want to do gets done, gets out of the way. I'm actually having fun doing it. And then I end my day in the stuff that I need to do. And then I only need to do it for an hour or two, and I've got high energy to do it, and it gets done. So start looking at yourselves of that. And if you guys want to do the Kobe index, reach out to us. We'll put you in touch with Kathy to get that done for you. Sam, I think it's like, what, $50 US or 65 US or something?
It's $50, and there's a session that you can do afterwards to actually have a one-on-one to understand what the results are.
Right.
So I can put all that into the worksheet for information.
That'd be great. Thank you. So, we talk about find your sweet spot. And once you find your sweet spot, this is, you just go out of this world. You just make things happen. And, you look at your striving instincts, you look at your passion, you look at your expertise, you write all those down in these little circles. And there's a worksheet we'll send out for this. And then whatever merges in between, that's your sweet spot, and really start doing that. So one of the things that we've been doing as our business is that really focusing on what my sweet spot is. And my sweet spot is basically this. This is the stuff that excites me. I love to do it. I love to see other people's reactions when this happens, what we talk and motivate and reach out and educate. This is the kind of the stuff I love to do. So now we as a company have basically decided that Likky's role is that. Let him just do what he needs to do, and things work out way better for everybody else. Because now I'm not doing stuff that I'm not good at or don't like to do. We either contract it out or somebody else takes it on and they do that. So I get to focus on what I love to do, and that's my sweet spot. And I'm hoping you guys can see some of the energy levels there that I'd love to do what I do. Now, I invite you to really sit back and do this. Word of caution, though, a little bit of a word of caution. You may be changing careers, or you may be changing positions once you figure this out, because you'll quickly realize that you're struggling where you are because you're not doing your sweet spot, or you're loving what you're doing and you're already in your sweet spot. You just need to excel at it now, and you start fine-tuning your day, fine-tuning your life. So just a word of caution: don't call me up. Obviously, if you call me up a few days from now and you want a job, let me know. We'll find you something to do. Now, I've been talking a lot about gut checks, and this book is, or the 5 rules that Kathy Kolbe talks about is trusting your guts. Core values are all about gut checks, right? So if you start looking at who you are, your energy levels and where you're at, what works, what doesn't work, this will start really bringing your internal values out and your authenticity really out to play, and you'll be able to really understand what you need to focus on, what you don't need to focus on. Well, what is the single most valuable thing I could possibly offer them? The ultimate benefit of genuine listening, you honor the other person. So start looking at authenticity. What is the single most valuable thing I could possibly offer them? Is yourself. Just, it's interesting, the people that are on right now, knowing and met most of you at least once or twice, I can honestly say that I understand why you're here. You genuinely care about yourselves and the people that you're around, and you genuinely want to make a difference in other people's lives. So I totally appreciate you taking the time to do this and learning and understanding where you're at. Now, that's our law of authenticity. All I had to say was the first slide, just be yourself. But without getting into the branding, without getting into what things look like, it wouldn't have made a lot of sense. I'm hoping that kind of closes that circle a little bit. Now, this is the law that makes things, that whole circle that we have, the go-giver way, it puts it all into play. There's some questions out there saying, what if I already did do the law of value and I'm already putting other people's interests first and I'm being authentic and I'm doing 3 out of the 5 laws? And my answer to that's incredible. I'm so glad you're doing those things. But to be a true go-giver, you've got to put all 5 rules into play. And this rule, this law, I should say rule, this law made the biggest impact in my life. And it's mainly because, I think a lot of people are very closed off to receiving good. So when I start talking about receiving, if you were to criticize this workshop, I will sit there and listen to you and make notes of it and understand from your perspective why it wasn't good, and I'll improve on it. I have no problems with that. And in turn, I'm also really quick on criticizing as well. But if you were to turn around and say things that were positive and affirmation-wise, I used to shy away from that and kind of deflect it. And I also was very hard on giving affirmations until I went through this and I realized that the chain of giving breaks if people aren't receiving. So if I'm giving you something and you're not receiving it, that means I can't give anymore. So I can't be a giver. And you're not a giver because you're not receiving. So it's the chain that has to stay open. The circle has to be moving all the time. It says, Bob Burg basically says, in fact, every giving can only happen because it is also receiving. If you don't let yourself receive, you're refusing the gifts of others and you shut down the flow. Now, I invite you. So Simon, can you unmute everybody, please? Okay. So we're going to do a bit of an exercise, okay? Can you all just Simon, do me a favor, grab the phone and dial 911 just in case. Okay. All of you, please only breathe out. Do not breathe in. And tell me when you're okay. Just keep on breathing out. Do not breathe in. Is that working for you?
Nope.
It doesn't work well, does it? Imagine life was like that always, that we're always only giving and we're not taking in. That's a simple exercise right there where we're we need to breathe in to survive. And I invite you to start accepting the receiving that you get so that you can actually survive and be a true go-giver. You know, what are some of our roadblocks that are stopping us from receiving? You know, there's two incredible books here. I don't know if anybody's read them, but both these books by Michael A. Singer, I invite you to read them. There may be something that is holding you back from receiving. It could be something that's happened in your past, whatever that is. Once you let go of that, your life totally changes. And, you know, we did a exercise in Ottawa, and Nancy's here from Ottawa. And I was there a couple of weeks ago, and we did an exercise where we practiced this receiving exercise to everybody. And the comment I received from the COO was that he's done many workshops that are personal development, but he hasn't been through any of them that actually got the entire team emotionally attached to that exercise and to that session. And all we did was we went around the table and just appreciated and gave affirmation of their traits. And I'm going to share a small story. We're doing okay for time, right, Simon? Yeah. So I'm going to share a story about what happened to me when I was in Orlando with Bob Burg and his team. There was 10 of us all together, and we finished the 4 laws, and then the 5th law was coming up. And Bob had asked me initially, he says, Likky, what is one of the struggles you're having? And I said to him, I said, the receiving part. He goes, perfect. He says, I want you to make sure that you're available for the last day so that we can go through this. And the last day was basically a day and a half into the session, right? I had an earlier flight, but they changed this exercise so that I could be part of this the session. All they did was Bob got up and said something about me, some affirmation words, and then Kathy got up, and then the rest of the 8 people got up and said something, and then I went up and said something about somebody else, and we did an exercise for the entire room. And I was taken aback when they finished with me. Remember, 10 people are talking to you, and you're on the spotlight for about 15, 20 minutes. I was taken back by the comments that they made, and Bob asked me, he says, Likky, you seem a little emotional about this. I said, yeah, I am. And he goes, why? I said, well, all of you have only known me for 3 days. You don't know me as a person, but what you've said about me is what my friends and family have been saying about me for many years. But I discounted it, thinking that, there was a reason for it. They're just trying to be nice, whatever the reasons were. So when I heard it from, I want to say complete strangers that only knew me for 36 hours and the exact same things, that really opened up my life, saying I need to receive more and be open to receiving and be open to receiving the incredible things that people were saying and take that in, because that allows me to give back even more. If anybody ever wants to go through that exercise, please reach out to me and we'll set that up for you. So, we talked a little bit about the affirmations and the appreciation and receiving. Now there's also objections that we should be open to. And remember, an objection is a prospective customer communicating they're not ready to go ahead and buy at this time. That's okay. But you have to be open and understanding why they say that. Is it the price? Whatever that reason is, you have to be open to listening for that. Just because you have a solution and you've done the 4 out of the 5 laws, meaning you've given incredible value, you've been authentic, you build a relationship, you put their interests first, the customer still may not be ready to buy. That's okay. If you're receiving what they're actually saying, you'll find a solution for them. And If it's price, you've got to work a little bit harder on the value section. Whatever that reason is, it's up to you to understand and put their interest first in everything that we do here. It's, at the bottom it says it's always about finding the true root, not how it manifests. The price you're asking them to pay is greater than the value they perceive your offering as being. All of us are in sales, and price always comes up as a conversation piece in that process somewhere. If I was to say it's gonna, my price was X amount of dollars, and their perception was, hey, I only have a budget of Y. No matter what you've done, it's not in the same budget, but it's how you deal with that, how you receive that information, and what you do to make through that will build that relationship even stronger. I've been in situations where we've done all this, and I'm probably the number one at fault where I don't ask the question of budget first. That's not the way I do my process. To me, the budget is something that we talk about at the end. I always want to build a relationship and provide the value and put their interest first. If that's the case, and then they come up when we talk price, and we're thousands of dollars apart, I have done what I need to do to build that relationship. And now what I will do is I'll find somebody else who can help them within their budget. I'm still doing the giving portion. I'm still providing the value, because one day, remember we said earlier that the person that you're working with in front of you is not your only prospect. The law of 250 comes into play here as well. So if you really take care of them and even find them the right solution with somebody else, they know 250 other people that they will refer to you as well. So that's that whole being authentic and being open to receiving as well. This is interesting. It says to always write down all the objections you've ever received. That way you can start dealing with them, understanding them, and figuring out why. There was a really neat article or a LinkedIn post a little while ago, and basically said, the more objections you get, the more you need to look at yourself first. So point within to see where the problem is. And you'll soon quickly realize what you need to work on so that you can overcome some of these objections. Listen to learn, that's sales number 101. I'm not even going to talk about that here. So, Simon, do you mind reading this off? My throat's just kind of...
For sure. So talking about using testimonials, it's so important to know that a company not only stands behind their product, but makes serving their customers and solving any production problems their ultimate priority. Some companies do that and somehow even manage to exceed expectations in that regard. We refer to them to fellow manufacturers without hesitation or reservation, and with the knowledge that you'll be extremely well taken care of. So this is from Martha McCann, from McCann Manufacturing and Distribution.
So, basically, if you have your objections written out, and then you find a testimonial, and you find a customer with a testimonial that overcomes that objection, you've done your job. You don't need to worry about that. I'm going to use an example. On the weekend, so we've been doing a lot of LinkedIn posts about the work that we're doing and the impacts that we're making out there and the connections we're making, and sharing our laws a lot on our LinkedIn and Facebook. I had an old colleague that I've done work for about 20 plus years. And in the last couple of years, I've reached out to him a few times just to say, how are things going? Where are we at? What are you doing? And he never found the time to reach back out and meet me. And I said, okay, whatever the reasons are the reasons. On Sunday morning, and this was, I think it's 7 or 8 a.m., I get an email from him saying, Likky, your name keeps on popping up everywhere. and I'm seeing some interesting stuff out there that you're doing. I think I need to come out and see you. I need to talk to you. I need to catch up with you. So we've set up a time to meet in a couple of weeks. And I guess the premise of this conversation, and the reason I'm saying this to you, is that don't discount anybody and be open to listening. So when I meet with him, I want to ask him, why did it take 2 years of posts for you to get back to me? And I want to know, because he may have had some premise about me or whatever that reasons were, and I need to find out what that was. And maybe I did something wrong. Maybe I upset him about something, and so I need to find all those things out, so that I can actually work through that and apologize and make it right. Because if I can't make it right, I'm not being authentic, and then I have to be open to him saying what he has to say. I'm hoping this receiving part is starting to make a little bit more make more sense. It's not only about the affirmations; it's also about listening for where you may be in the wrong and making good with it. And I can understand why I say all 5 laws have to really come to play here, because if you genuinely want to build a relationship with somebody, you genuinely have to accept what they have to say, good or bad. And then, as the authentic people that you already are, be able to take it in and then say what you need to say to move on. Either it's either it's a thank you, or it's a I apologize that I did this to you and we need to move ahead. So, nothing against fishing, but we think that the sales process is a lot more like farming. You prepare the soil, you plant seeds, you water, weed, nurture, and cultivate. In other words, follow through. Not every seed takes root. It may be only 1 seed in 10 or 1 in 20. The point is not what you do, but what you accomplish. It's who you are. I want to go back to this slide here. As we start working our sales process, our outcome is to sell something to them. I invite you to look at changing that a little bit and saying, why don't we look at working through the sales process as the 5 laws and just doing what you do best, which is provide the value, put their interests first. Even if it's 1 in 10, 1 in 20, you've done what you need to do. And remember that one person, if you've done your 5 laws, the law of 250 will come into play, and or they will come back later on. So this is our 5 laws of stratospheric success: the law of value, law of compensation, the law of influence, law of authenticity, and the law of receptivity. And that's the go-giver way. We are at 11 minutes to 9. I understand my good friend Alnur Damji is online. Is that right, Saima? Is this Mr. Alnur Damji that actually
I am Alnur.
Is this the one that wears the red shoes?
Yes, this is the one that wears the red shoes to walk a mile in her shoes.
Alnur, that's incredible. So everybody, this was not planned. So Alnur, I actually showed your red shoe picture on the session a little while ago.
Okay, well, I guess those red shoes have become famous.
And the reason I did that was just to show the authenticity that you have in being who you are. and your brand is about having fun and just letting go and being the person that you are. And you're matching your internal brand to your marketing brand, and you're just being real. That is a true testament of who you are. And when I saw that, I just sat back. I first howled. I was on the floor howling, but it really made me realize that we need to go that even next level up for ourselves, is that we need to take our personal brand and make it a marketable brand as well. So thank you for sharing that.
You're most welcome. This was the second year I walked a mile in her shoes.
Mm-hmm.
It's bizarre. The CEO of YW meets hundreds and hundreds of people throughout the year. And actually, there were 200 people at the event this year, at least, walking. Sorry, there were 200 walkers minimum.
Mm-hmm.
But, I stood by there. She was chatting with somebody. She turned around, saw me, and she said, "Hi." And I said, "Hello." And she goes, I remember you. And I said, "You remember me from last year?" She said, "Yes, I do. I even have your picture on my phone." So just like, oh my gosh. So, you talked about brand, you talked about authenticity, and it is sometimes doing things that are out there too, and being comfortable in sharing your vulnerabilities. And I think that's what helps with that brand as well.
That's great. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for sharing that story with us. We're going to open up the podium to everybody else. I'd love to hear some conversations about you and what you really got out of the 5 laws. And is there anything?
Conference call, but I'm listening.
Okay, sorry. If there's anybody who wants to share what they got out of this and what they need further, I'd love to hear from you. And they're all going to be shy again.
So I'll start a conversation here.
That's
so
great.
We talked about all these 5 laws, and I'm sure as people go through their lives and try and put these into place, there's going to be times where they feel like they're doing business as a go-giver or connecting people, but the other person isn't a go-giver in return, even though I'm putting all my effort into being a go-giver and giving truly.
Sure.
What can I do, or what can I take away from that without feeling like I'm being taken advantage of?
Okay. So the question basically is that you're the go-giver and the other person is taking advantage of that, or you're feeling that they're taking advantage of that.
Exactly.
You're not doing anything wrong. You are doing what you're supposed to be doing, which is being the go-giver, giving extraordinary value. You're putting their interests first. Now, at that point, all I say is have your guard up, be cautious in that transaction. Being a go-giver doesn't allow anybody else to walk all over you. Keep that in mind. You have to be authentic in what you're doing and keep on doing what you're doing. Just because they're not getting it and they want to take advantage of that, that's when you're being authentic and being real and saying, okay, this is not a great fit. I appreciate the business opportunity. And I value the friendship and relationship we build. Thank you very much. And either, if you find that they're being not authentic at all, I wouldn't be giving them a referral to somebody else in your network, because now you're putting them into risk as well. But my recommendation is you go through your go-giver approach, right? Do all 5 laws and just be cautious and keep your guard up throughout that whole process. Don't get walked over and being taken advantage of either.
Thanks. That's great.
Anyone else out there want to talk about anything? Okay, so we're at 8:54. We have a decision to make about next week. We've done all 5 laws. We can do one more session based on role playing, going through some more stories, or we can say this is it, and then I can be available to any of you on a one-on-one call. I'd love to hear from you guys what you'd like to do. Not right now. We're going to send an email out and just respond back to us, and then by Friday, we will announce whether we're having a session next Wednesday or not. I am truly, truly humbled to be able to do this session for all of you. It takes a lot of commitment for the people that stay through the four weeks. It's not easy listening to somebody yap away for an hour, but you've all been attending, you've been engaged, and I am truly humbled that you're listening to this and being part of this process. I invite all of you to give this a shot. And I say that because you're all go-givers already. Now that you have the tools, by putting it all together, I am so excited to see what brings this out, what comes out for you guys. If there's nothing else, I think we are ready to wrap it up. Is there anything anybody else wants to say before we do this? Simon, just unmute, and then we'll say bye.
Just say thanks, Likky, for doing this. It was some great insights and some great points that good things to think about when you're going in your everyday life.
You're welcome, Aaron, and just do what you do. Be the person that you are. The first time I met you, your energy level was just incredible, and you can just feel that. If I ever gave you a referral or if I introduced you to somebody, that person would be taken care of as a friendship as well as in the business sense. So be the person you are and just be the go-giver that you already are.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Likky, it's Ola here. I wanted to thank you as well so much. It's been very insightful and very, very good course for me to take. I look forward to having you as a guest in our team meeting. That meeting you can discuss a bit later, but it was awesome. Thank you so much. I can really share more of what I've learned with my manager and my coworkers.
You're very welcome, Ola. And I'm just going to share a quick story about how I met Ola. I was actually at a different event, at a totally networking event, and we met each other, we talked, and that day we had a coffee because I saw an opportunity to build a relationship with Ola. And I gave her the Go Giver book. She read it, and this was, I can't remember, back in May or June, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was actually the beginning of June, yeah.
Yeah, and then ever since then, we've stayed in touch. We're building a plan to take both of our businesses to a different level by utilizing each other and working through our centers of influencers and making sure things happen. And this is a true, and Ola, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but you're a true go-giver. And by me doing what I'm doing and you receiving, it's been a great, a great relationship that we built. So I appreciate what you've done for us. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it right back at you.
Okay, awesome. So on that note, we're gonna end it up. And thank you. And again, none of this would be possible if Saima didn't put it all together for us. So Saima, thank you for putting the slides together, the timings, the invites, making sure that we were all ready to go and the technology was working. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
All right. Have a great day, everyone, and enjoy the rest of the week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Morning.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.